Canada is absolutely furious at Donald Trump and his regime, and Canada is building up its military, folks. Prime Minister Carney made a show of force the end of the week. He was in Trenton, Ontario, at the largest Air Force base in Canada, and he was talking about building up the Air Force, paying the military in Canada more money. He was talking about quadrupling military spending in Canada, making sure that Canada can protect itself from all threats. And there was not so subtle hint. One of those threats is the United States of America. And Prime Minister Carney, flanked by members of the Canadian Air Force, started talking about how important the military relationship between Canada and the European Union is. Here, listen to this.
Our total spending on defense and security will quadruple by the end of this decade relative to 2023-24 levels. Now, we are laser focused on ensuring that this spending has the maximum impact on behalf of all Canadians. That means working with the best partners. It means getting maximum value for money with the greatest benefit for jobs and economic activity here in Canada. And that's why in June we concluded the new EU-Canada Security and Defence Partnership to advance Canada's participation in the European Security Initiative and Rearm Europe plan. This will give us better access to European defence partners for our needs, and it will give our defence suppliers greater opportunities to help supply Europe's needs. We are also in the process of creating a new defence procurement agency to move at pace to get our armed forces the equipment that they need when they need it. And our investments in defense will expand Canada's industrial capacity so we can equip Canadian armed forces using Canadian steel, Canadian aluminum, Canadian critical minerals, Canadian cyber, and Canadian lumber. We will increase our security presence around the world, including to protect NATO's eastern flank, and by protecting Canada, we will protect NATO's western flank.
Then Prime Minister Carney explained during this press conference in Trenton, Ontario, that there is a new world order that is being formed. It's obviously a clear implication to Donald Trump destroying the previous post-World War II order, and Canada, a world energy superpower, now needs to find new alliances being formed that don't involve the United States of America. Here, play this clip as Prime Minister Carney talks about a new world order. Here, play this clip.
We're living in an increasingly dangerous and divided world. The international order, built after the Second World War and reshaped following the Cold War, is under pressure. Russia is emboldened. China is more assertive. The long-held view that Canada's geographic location will protect us is becoming archaic. Our Arctic waters are increasingly open, and there have been rapid advances in cyber, artificial intelligence, quantum, and advanced missile capabilities. Climate change is making our country more vulnerable. The Arctic's melting. Our wildfires and floods are more frequent and devastating. And these are all threats to which the Canadian Armed Forces responds. The Canadian Forces keep our people and communities safe through major disasters. I'll give examples. This summer, Canadian Forces have helped communities in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, soon Newfoundland, and Labrador, including already by safely evacuating over 6,000 Canadians. This week alone, Canadian Forces members, originally from CFB Trenton, airdropped life-saving humanitarian aid into Gaza. Canadian Armed Forces are standing guard in Latvia and continue to deploy around the world to stand with our allies in defense of peace and security. When a crisis breaks, or Canada's safety is threatened anywhere in the world, this base is the first to spring into action. And from CFB Trenton, fallen heroes have been repatriated to their families with honor, carried along the highway of heroes, draped in the maple leaf, to be etched in our memories. CFB Trenton is much more than an Air Force base. It's a community. And here, service isn't just lived by those in uniform, but also reflected in the strength, the support, and yes, the sacrifice of every military family. Their service is grounded in values, in a love for our country that makes those sacrifices possible, commitments that keep Canada strong. And in the minister's visit a few weeks ago and visits to come, in my remarks today, we're investing in that strength.
Do you struggle with bloating and discomfort after your morning coffee? Well, after drinking Everyday Dose consistently, my bloating has reduced and my face, it feels less puffy. Everyday Dose is coffee plus benefits. It combines 100% Arabica coffee with powerful ingredients like lion's mane and chaga, collagen protein, and nootropics to fuel your brain, boost focus, and give you clean, sustained energy all day long. There's no crash and no jitters, just clean, sustained energy. The two products of theirs that you need to check out like right this second are their Coffee Plus and their Coffee Plus Bold. Coffee Plus is a mild roast. It's light and smooth. It's low acidity, which is easy on sensitive stomachs, and it gives you this mellow sort of energy. It's awesome. Coffee Plus Bold, that's their rich blend of medium roast, 100% Arabica coffee, robust and full-bodied, yet smooth. It gives you that extra boost of energy you're looking for. Both are 100% Arabica coffee, and they have functional benefits that are also mold-free. Now, Everyday Dose, they do third-party testing. I love that. Get 45% off your first subscription order of 30 servings of Coffee Plus or Bold Plus. You'll also receive a starter kit with over $100 in free gifts, including a rechargeable frother and gunmetal serving spoon by going to everydaydose.com/Meidas or entering Meidas at checkout. You'll get free gifts throughout the year. That's everydaydose.com/Meidas for 45% off your first order.
Now, Prime Minister Carney was asked about the deal with the United States and whether a trade deal was possible, what's happening there. Now, Prime Minister Carney has already previously said, look, we're going to do the deal when it benefits Canada. We're not going to do fake deals. We're not going to do BS deals. We're not going to do deals that screw over Canada. If there's a deal that makes Canada strong, there's a win-win, we'll do it. But otherwise, we're not doing a deal. We'll speak to Donald Trump when it makes sense, but he's not going to dictate to us when we meet or when we talk to him. Here's Prime Minister Carney talking about the status of the deal with the United States. Play this clip.
We have put in place retaliatory tariffs in a way that looks to have the minimum impact here in Canada. That's why there's been various adjustments over time to remissions and others. We're in a position where we have the prospect, or we're engaged in discussions with the U.S., as you know, and have been for some time. The issues at the core of those negotiations will be similar to some of the issues that will come up naturally through CUSMA. There are issues around strategic sectors, steel, aluminum, automobiles, pharmaceuticals, lumber. And from our perspective, we're concentrating on those areas where our economies are deeply integrated, and working for win-win solutions between the two countries.
Now, one of the things that Prime Minister Carney ordered as well was a complete review of future purchases of American-made F-35 planes and whether Canada should be buying F-35 planes. And a member of the Canadian press tries to push him on that and says, but what if the military wants F-35s? What are you going to do? Prime Minister Carney, chef's kiss response. Let's play this clip.
You ordered a review of the F-35 contract during this rift with the U.S. The military has long said they want the F-35. We're now hearing that the military has told you they want to stick with that contract. Did you expect the forces to potentially say something different? And how much of this is part of a negotiation tactic with President Trump?
No, I'd say a couple of things. First off, the review is not completed, so there's no settled advice into the government. First point. Second, the nature of aerial combat, the nature of warfare, the nature of our responsibilities, the scale of our investment, all of those elements have changed over the course of recent years, and then with respect to the commitment, the resources that we're going to put in, that quadrupling of resources by the end of this decade. We have a responsibility to make sure that those are spent in the way that has a maximum impact. I'll give you an example. We have a much greater threat, associated responsibilities in the Arctic. We've taken a number of steps over the Horizon Radar, early stage of that process, having forces on land, air, and the sea, 365 days a year, moving that from 4 months. But we also need the appropriate air capabilities for the Arctic, for the runways in the Arctic, for the threats that we're faced in the Arctic as well. And so part of the consideration is the F-35 best suited for that relative to other options. Other considerations, as Canadians would expect, is value for money and economic impact here in Canada. So I would make the core point that the review is driven by the need and the responsibilities and approach that we're taking to making sure that this very large and necessary investment in defense is done so most effectively.
Now, Prime Minister Carney's press conference there in Trenton, Ontario, comes at the same time that we learned that Canada's Girl Guides, basically their equivalent of the Girl Scouts, 60,000 plus members, they're canceling all of their trips to the United States amid Donald Trump throwing immigrants, migrants, visitors into concentration camps in the United States like Alligator Alcatraz and other concentration camps that are popping up across the United States. From the New York Times, the organization, Canada's equivalent of the Girl Scouts, said it was pausing the trips out of safety concerns for its members. That's right. The Canadian equivalent of the Girl Scouts not traveling to the United States because the United States is a hellscape, a hellhole, completely and utterly dangerous. ICE agents attacking people, disappearing human beings, locking people up in concentration camps. And folks, I've said this before, as we approach the World Cup and the Olympics, based on what the Trump regime is doing, I'm not sure how those games are going to go forward in the United States. We'll see. The charity organization, the Girls Guide, which is focused on empowering girls through skill building and friendship, said in a statement emailed on Friday that its decision was rooted in its commitment to inclusivity and the safety of all of our members. It was prompted, the statement said, by recent restrictions put on equal entry into the United States. The organization said that some of its members may hold citizenship from countries other than Canada and could be affected by recent changes to the U.S. immigration policies. In June, Trump barred citizens of 12 countries, mostly in Africa and the Middle East, from entering the United States and restricted visas for citizens of 7 others. The Girl Guide said that its pause on U.S. would take effect in the upcoming month. The organization, which has over 60,000 active members, did not provide details about how many trips were canceled or how long the pause would last. I think it's going to last forever until Trump's out, because it's only going to get more dangerous here in the United States. Amid the administration's crackdown, or we should say throwing people into concentration camps, a group of Canadian trade unions that represent college professors recently warned against non-essential travel to the United States, and Canadian news agencies reported that some Canadian schools have canceled or suspended cross-border field trips to avoid what one administrator called potential negative experiences at the border. In one case that drew outrage, Jasmine Mooney, a Canadian actor, said she was put in chains and held for 12 days by Immigration and Customs Enforcement in California after ICE officers flagged her visa application as she crossed the border from Mexico. Tourism from Canada into the United States has dropped by at least 32% in the past few months over the year before. Should also be noted that Prime Minister Carney visiting Mexico or having his trade minister, foreign minister, finance minister, meet with President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico to discuss cooperation between Canada and Mexico. As this article from Politico talks about, Canada is playing its energy card in Mexico as part of a strategy to diversify economic relationships as a bulwark against Donald Trump's tariffs, which Trump hiked to 35% last week after his August 1 deadline. It's no secret that Canada is an energy superpower and that we have the ability to supply energy to willing countries, Canadian Foreign Minister said. And so we're seeing Canada out there forming these relationships, alliances, increasing defense spending significantly and increasing its defense relationships with Europe and others. The United States is going to be waking up. I'm just letting you know what's happening, folks. Weaker than ever before. That's what's happening right now. As Donald Trump invites Vladimir Putin to Alaska with no Zelensky next Friday. Yes, Putin's coming to Alaska. Donald Trump's going to say, I'll give Putin everything he wants. Maybe we'll give him Alaska as well. It's ridiculous. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.